Story time with Mr. Beat.
Hi, my name is Mr. Beat. Before slavery was outlawed in the United States in 1865, there were at least 250 documented slave revolts. Probably the most famous of all of these was Nat Turner's Rebellion, also known as the Southhampton Insurrection. Here's the story of Nat Turner's Rebellion.
Once upon a time, there was a slave named Nat Turner. He stood about 5'7", weighed about 155 pounds, and was very smart. He lived on a plantation in Southampton County, Virginia. He often had visions, which he interpreted as messages from God. Because of this, he believed he was destined for some great mission. At an early age, he taught himself how to read and write. As he grew older, he learned how to manipulate his white slave masters. He was very disciplined, refusing tobacco and liquor, and spent much time fasting and meditating. Many other slaves began to look to Turner for leadership, and he became a preacher as a young man. On May 12, 1828, when Turner was 27 years old, he heard a voice while working in his owner's fields. The voice said, "The time was fast approaching when the first should be last and the last should be first." On February 11, 1831, Turner witnessed a solar eclipse and believed it was a sign from God to rise up and rebel. Turner began secretly spreading the word about his plans. On August 13, 1831, an atmospheric disturbance made the sun appear bluish-green. Turner decided this was the final signal, and 1 week later, he and 6 men gathered, and Turner laid out his plan. Using no guns and only knives, hatchets, and axes, they would kill all slave owners they could find, regardless of age or sex. One historian states that Turner called on his group to, quote, "kill all the white people." The rebels then traveled from house to house and killed every white person they encountered. Though they did spare a few of the poorer white homes, they ended up killing non-slave owners, women, and even children. A small child who hid in a fireplace was among the few survivors. Most were hacked to death with axes, stabbed, or beaten to death. Through the night, Turner's forces grew as he had thought it would. First a dozen, then 30, then 60, and perhaps got as high as 80 slaves. They killed approximately 60 before they were defeated by a local militia with twice the manpower. The next day, troops from as far away as Norfolk came to help. The white troops had guns, and the slaves did not. The rebellion was ended within 2 days. As many as 200 blacks were killed in the skirmish, and later 56 blacks were executed by the state for the rebellion. This means the number of black victims was much greater than the number of rebels or of white victims. The blacks who were executed had their heads cut off. The heads were mounted on large poles at busy intersections as a warning to other slaves. As for Nat Turner, he escaped and went into hiding. But on October 30th, he surrendered to authorities. In court, he pled not guilty, saying he felt no guilt. He was hung on November 11th. Afterwards, his body was skinned and chopped up into 4 pieces. Nat Turner's slave rebellion caused white people throughout the South to freak out and overreact. It also gave hope to slaves throughout the South that maybe slavery was on the decline. The biggest legal reaction to the rebellion? The Virginia General Assembly made it illegal to educate slaves. They couldn't read or write. You see, the smarter a slave was, the more they realized being a slave sucked. The end.